The sky is not falling, but you'd be forgiven if the thought crossed your mind after two spectacular but apparently unrelated cosmic close encounters today within just hours of each other. This morning in a remote part of Russia, some thought the world was ending when a 10-ton meteor, 5 stories tall, hurtled to Earth and exploded, causing a lot of injuries and doing a lot of damage without actually hitting anything. Its fiery descent was captured in vivid detail by numerous cameras. And then this afternoon, there was a very close call with a massive asteroid that whizzed by just 17,000 miles from our planet. In celestial terms, that is a very near miss. What do scientists make of all this? It was all one big cosmic coincidence. NBC's Tom Costello reports.
The video from Russia is incredible. A massive meteor traveling at 33,000 miles per hour, trailing a brilliant white contrail, hitting the atmosphere and exploding with the force of an atomic bomb. The shockwave over the town of Chelyabinsk damaged thousands of buildings, knocked down a factory wall, and blew out windows across the city in freezing temperatures. Just as kids were starting the school day.
The ceiling was okay, but all the windows were broken. Almost all the window panes were damaged. There are no windows without damage.
The shards of glass injuring more than 1,000 people, 100 hospitalized.
I heard this extremely loud noise that shook my apartment.
Canadian hockey player Michael Garnett lives in Chelyabinsk. We talked to him via Skype.
It blew the vents out of my bathroom and there was debris on the floor. And I'm up on the 23rd floor and I could feel the building swaying.
Pieces of the meteor punched a hole in a frozen lake but missed the town and a nearby nuclear plant. In Washington, scientist Linda Welzenbach specializes in meteorites at the Smithsonian.
These are the primitive materials left over from when the planets formed, and say are the basic building blocks of all our planetary material.
It's heavy.
It is indeed heavy.
And in an amazing coincidence, the other space rock, an asteroid half the size of a football field, came whizzing by this afternoon. While the space station orbits 220 miles above the Earth, this afternoon's asteroid passed 17,000 miles above the Earth, much closer than many satellites that orbit 22,000 miles out.
An object as large as this passes by the Earth, we think, on average, about once every 40 years.
Two close calls today, with the world wondering what would have happened if either one had hit a city. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist and director of the Hayden Planetarium here in New York. Dr. Tyson, good to have you. You're a man in demand today.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, apparently.
We all have a lot of questions about this. What we saw in Russia, first off, we know that this
extraordinary
is a big planet, mostly water. So is this something that happens more often than we know?
With these blasts of that magnitude, there was one in the 90s that there was an air blast above India and Pakistan right when they were negotiating nuclear control. And so that's a little worrisome because one of them might have accused the other of a first strike. If you fill in the blanks with places these might have fallen where no one would have taken notice, like the middle of the Pacific or over Antarctica or over the North Pole or northern Canada, I'm imagining you'd get impacts of that magnitude anywhere between 1 every 5 to 10 years.
And we should note, again, a lot of people have dashboard cameras in Russia, so those pictures we saw. Now, let me ask you about this asteroid that had the near miss today. 17,000 miles, very close.
That's a buzz cut.
Here's what I've got to ask. Half the size of a football field. Had it hit us?
Yeah.
Catastrophic?
Oh, yeah, for the regionally catastrophic, no doubt about it. You saw what happened with that asteroid over in Russia, and that one is the size of just sort of a large boulder. This one was much larger. Would hit with much more energy, and the energy's got to go somewhere. In an air blast, there is heat. There is the pulse of a compressive wave. It's basically a shock wave that can level buildings. You don't want that to happen over a city. And we're happy that most of Earth's surface is ocean and most of Earth's land is not inhabited. So you just sort of, count your chances every time this happens, which is why I don't want to run away from these things. I want to deflect them. It'd be nice if we had funding to do such a thing, but no such program in the world exists.
Astonishing pictures out of Russia today showing the meteorite streaking across an early morning sky. The Russian Academy of Sciences estimated its size to be about 10 tons and its speed 33,000 miles per hour. It was seen, heard and felt on the ground as windows shattered and the roof of a factory collapsed. All that damage thought to be caused by the sonic boom.
There's these much smaller meteorites which are observed to hit the ground. They happen hundreds of times every year, but only several times a year are they actually seen to fall by people, and very rarely do they do any damage.
Nearly 1,000 people have been injured, mostly hurt by flying glass. The meteor hit on the same day that an asteroid named 2012 DA14 makes the closest recorded pass of an asteroid to Earth, closer than some satellites. The European Space Agency said its experts had determined there was no connection between the two, just cosmic coincidence. Duncan Golostani, NBC News, London.
Now, meanwhile, here in El Paso, some might recall a similar incident 16 years ago when a meteor hit just 30 miles east of El Paso. News Channel 9's Jacqueline Correa spoke with Corey Stone at the Gene Roddenberry Planetarium, and she joins us live with more on that. Jackie?
Kagan, our planet wasn't hit just by a meteor today. We also narrowly missed a collision with a 150-foot-long asteroid that hurtled through Earth's backyard today. An expert tells me not to worry. It happens all the time. And here in El Paso, it happened fairly recently. The asteroid today came within 17,000 miles of the Earth, making it the closest known flyby for a rock of its size. And that meteor that hit Russia, well, it apparently happens every day. Meteors hit the Earth every day, but we don't hear about them because they usually strike in the ocean, being that our planet is covered mostly by water. Most of them are too small to detect and disintegrate in the Earth's atmosphere. But some of us might recall when a meteor exploded over East El Paso 16 years ago. Corey Stone, who's been with the planetarium for more than 40 years, remembers when that happened back in 1997. That meteor exploded 18 to 20 miles high in the sky over the desert.
Blew up with the explosive energy of a small tactical nuclear weapon, and we heard the blast here all over El Paso and even inside the planetarium. But it didn't cause any damage. People should not be concerned about this because it is very rare for a meteor like this to come over a populated area, and much, much rarer still for it to actually do any damage.
Stone says NASA and numerous organizations are constantly looking to the sky and tracking asteroids and movements all the time. There's nothing at the moment posing a risk to us.
Well, we awoke last Friday to the story of that meteor streaking across the Russian sky. Then we saw the video, thousands of them now, and now there are a lot of new questions about whether we're doing enough to be on the lookout for another direct hit with the planet Earth. While on the ground, pieces of that space rock are going for a hefty price. The story tonight from NBC's Stephanie Gosk.
After the meteor smashed through the atmosphere, shattering windows in Russia and nerves around the world, it broke into pieces, meteorites. Most of them landed near this frozen lake. The largest piece may still be underwater. The search to find them is on. There are reports that residents are trying to sell the meteorites for as much as $10,000. A lot of money for a rock, but things from outer space can fetch a good price from collectors like Dave Giesling.
I would love to house a piece of this meteorite in my collection, and every collector on the planet would. No question about it.
The famous Peekskill meteor was auctioned off for more than $16,000, caught on camera 20 years ago just before it took out the taillight of a Chevy Malibu. Fascination in meteorites and fear of them has peaked since last Friday. Over the weekend, 2 sightings in Florida and Northern California triggered a flood of anxious calls to authorities, even though those types of sightings are common. The new vigilance after the meteor in Russia is a good thing, says former astronaut Ed Liu.
You can think of this as a giant game of roulette with the whole Earth.
Liu has started an organization looking to build the first ever privately funded deep space telescope to track meteors. He believes people don't truly appreciate the danger. There's only ever been one recorded fatality from a meteorite. 1972, in a farm in Venezuela, a meteorite streaks through the sky and kills a cow. Scientists say the poor thing never stood a chance. Today at New York's Natural History Museum, there wasn't a lot of concern, just curiosity.
Whenever I hear about a meteorite falling, I get all excited and stuff.
The rocks can tell us a lot, says the museum's resident expert.
They tell us about the formation of planets, and most importantly and subtly, they tell us about the dynamic history of the solar system.
A dynamic history that continues to unfold, sometimes dangerously close. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
And let's get right back to the video that has everybody talking today. No, not a scene out of a Hollywood movie. It's really happening over the eastern skies of Russia. New at noon today, we have confirmed now at least 1,100 people were hurt. When this meteor broke apart and the sonic boom shattered all the windows. That's where all the injuries came from. More than 40 people are hospitalized in serious condition. And this is another shot, some amateur video also out of Russia, showing that object speeding across the sky. And you can even hear some car alarms going off there, the windows shattering, people running for cover. You can only imagine how panicked all these folks must have been.
Well, the European Space Agency says its experts have determined there is no connection between the meteor over Russia and a 150-foot asteroid hurtling toward a near-Earth encounter today. In fact, it's expected to pass Earth in about 20 minutes or so, or actually it should be going by in a few minutes. Well, NASA says the asteroid will pass Earth by 17,000 miles. It's too small to see with the naked eye. We are keeping tabs on the NASA video this noon. Again, it looks like we are clear. This is a live shot right now. You can see very dark. It looks like that streak of light across the middle of your screen is indeed the asteroid. Again, this was 17,000 miles away from Earth. There was no fear of it hitting the globe.
And we were looking at some of the images that NASA was sending down late this afternoon, and they had kind of a timeline wrapped around the Earth and this. So it looked like you were saying about 20-30 minutes or so. Hopefully they're thinking by 1 o'clock our time it should be completely clear of Earth. So again, we still have quite a ways to watch.
Possibility that it could hit the Earth in the year 2080. I expect that will go away, and we'll know that we're safe from this asteroid for a long time.
And how will you use the information that Lance was talking about, the information that the radar can give us?
Lance's information is very helpful in computing the orbit. We will have essentially nailed the orbit of this to, it'll be one of the best in our catalog. It's that accurate.
All right. We are 50 seconds away, 49. The clock is counting down, and at that point, in just a few seconds, that is the closest point that DA-14 will be to our planet.
To our planet in centuries, probably, as far as we know. So it's a remarkable moment as it passes by, and then it will be headed out.
And watching the counter on the left, the distance to Earth.
Yes, it's going to go through about 17,200 some miles. That's as close as it will get, and then it will start heading out.
And that's at the point where folks in Europe and then finally North America, as it's heading